On this episode of the Apple Watchers, is Touch ID coming to the Apple Watch? Will a future Apple Watch be made of plastic? Apple releases COVID-19 screening tool for the public and another just for first responders. Apple shipping face shields for medical workers. Apple buys one of the best weather forecasting companies. Will we have home screen widgets on iOS in the near future? Apple and Google team up to help track coronavirus. All this, our picks, tips, and much more. This is episode number 23. Welcome to the Apple Watchers, a podcast covering all things Apple Watch and many things Apple. This episode and every episode is brought to you by me, Kevin Hare, and my co-host, Jonathan Zarko, aka Jay-Z. All right, let's get started. Well, how you doing, John?
Hey.
Doing good? Hanging in there?
Yeah.
You and the family, the wife, everyone doing good?
Yep, we are being quarantined at home. Well, not quarantined, but we're stay at home. So
yeah, staying in.
It's been going well. We're both working from home, so
good.
I've been going on walks because I have been getting a little stir crazy.
Okay.
But not touching anybody, keeping distance while I'm doing it, not going any places, just taking a walk down to the park, walking the perimeter, and then trying to come back, get some exercise and a little bit of vitamin D.
Yeah, I need to get out and get some vitamin D. I've been exercising at home, but yeah, I need to get out. We haven't been out of our apartment in 3 days, I think.
That's crazy.
But, yeah, but it's been raining too here in LA, of course. But yeah, we'll get out here and there. Hope all of our listeners are doing well. Hope everyone's safe and healthy. And thanks for continuing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get started, we are now on Instagram at the Apple Watchers. And yeah, if you're on Instagram, check us out. Follow us. Be great.
I thought it was cool how you were able to post some of the audio too, the intro, so people can kind of get a hint of what's coming up in that episode.
Yeah, it's funny because I was trying to look up software that would do that. And as you know, the Apple App Store, it's not very good at search still.
Yeah.
And then realizing that I already had some apps on my phone that did that. So I found a really great one. It's actually free. So pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, maybe one time I'll make that my pick for anyone who's listening who does a podcast as well. So it's pretty cool. And the rest of them, or most of the apps, were subscription based, and this one was free. So
nice.
Anyways, yeah. Why don't we get started with some Apple Watch quick stories? So this came up recently. Apple has added Siri support for Spotify to the Apple Watch, and of course the iPhone as well.
Sweet.
You, I believe, are a Spotify user. Have you tried this yet?
I have. So it was successful. I can ask Siri to play a band specifically on Spotify on my watch. It's a little less of a huge deal for me because I've already been able to do that with the AirPods. And so that was kind of nice, but it's also good to know that I can just talk directly to the watch now instead. And then it'll have it start playing music and stuff directly on my phone. Something I've been wanting for a while. So
yeah, very cool. Yeah, this is good for anyone that uses Spotify. So we also got a watchOS update. We're on 6.2.1. Did you update?
I did. I don't see any major differences, but yeah, it did it.
Yeah, the notes say this watchOS update includes improvements in bug fixes, an issue where devices running watchOS 6.2 could not participate in FaceTime audio calls, with devices running iOS 9.3.6 and earlier, or OS X El Capitan 10.11.6 and earlier. That's all it really says. So, yeah, I think that was an issue for some people.
It seems like a good time to be doing a lot of these bug updates, especially things around FaceTime, because there's a lot of people that are, stuck at home. So it makes sense that they're finding and squashing these bugs.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Well, why don't we move on to some Apple Watch extended stories? You want to start us off with
Yeah.
this one? This rumor?
All right. So yeah, there's a rumor starting that Apple is developing Touch ID fingerprint biometrics for the Apple Watch, and also there's another rumor that Series 2 will not be able to support the new watchOS 7. So going back to the Touch ID, a new report claims that they're currently tackling two different approaches to adding Touch ID fingerprint unlocking to the Apple Watch. One approach would be through integrating a fingerprint sensor into the digital crown. The other, and much cooler method, would be to add a fingerprint sensor under the screen. And it's not clear if this would be ready for this year, but there is a verifier who has been pointing to Series 7, so a 2021 feature. Right now, when you try to access your Apple Watch, you have to enter a PIN or use your phone to authenticate. Adding Touch ID would just speed up that process. So we've also heard other analysts suggest that Apple is exploring adding a fingerprint sensor to the power button on future low-end iPhones, which would allow the company to offer full screen device without incorporating the costly True Depth uh, Face ID camera system. The Apple Watch Series 6 is not expected to have any major hardware changes to the watch itself this year, and while Apple may be adding some smaller features like Wi Fi 6, which I think would be perfect timing, and enhanced battery life, which is always appreciated, the general industrial design of the device would remain the same. It has been reported by Bloomberg that sleep tracking will not be compatible with existing watches. So if that turns out to be true, sleep tracking would become an Apple Watch Series 6 distinguishing feature. We're expected to see Apple officially unveil watchOS 7 at the WWDC keynote in June. And we had reported before that the WWDC event will be online only. And the company is yet to confirm an exact date for the keynote event. But the next generation of Apple hardware is expected to launch sometime in the fall, hopefully.
Very cool.
Yeah,
This
lots of fun
is,
stuff coming up.
yeah, this will be neat, I guess. I don't, I kind of imagine how else we would use Touch ID because currently, it's not a big deal to just use a passcode. I kind of do it once a day.
Yeah,
But I guess they would integrate it maybe with opening your phone, opening your Mac, stuff like that.
yeah, keeping things done. I actually would also be interested in just getting a Face ID instead of to the Touch ID in the watch, although I'm imagining there's probably some cost
Yeah.
um, that are kind of associated with that. But just being able to look at my face when I look at my watch and for it to automatically unlock, I think would be helpful. Um, but it is a little bit of a pain in the butt to have to type in a passcode, especially when you have specialty security software on your devices.
Mm.
So my company requires me to have extra security on my devices to be able to pull in work email and calendars. So I
Oh.
actually have to have like a very, very long passcode on both
Oh,
my
okay.
phone and my watch. So anything to kind of overcome those hurdles would be helpful.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Hmm.
So this next story was really interesting because we've kind of mentioned on maybe a few previous episodes that it would be nice to have different cost Apple Watches, not just between stainless steel and aluminum, but maybe something that's even lower price than the aluminum model, the sport model.
Yeah,
So
lower
app
entry point.
yeah, so maybe this would tie in with that. So Apple is investigating reinforced plastic as a case material for the Apple Watch.
Hmm.
So the article is from Apple Insider, and it states Apple is looking to expand its base of Apple Watch users by working toward a version that should be cheaper to produce than the previous models, which typically use stainless steel or aluminum. The proposed new housing would be chiefly made from ceramic fibers.
Hmm.
Ceramic fibers are different to the ceramic casings that Apple has occasionally used on the Apple Watch. Typically, it's a material used in insulation and reinforcing of other materials. A new patent application proposes using a weave made of ceramic fibers to produce a housing that is strong enough to protect the watch but cheaper to produce. So, and one of the concerns is the strength of the housing and the cost of this. So, the solution to getting the optimum results for the optimum cost suggests Apple is to use this composite material. Um, And they state in some cases, the ceramic material can include ceramic fibers that can be arranged in a pattern, such as a weave pattern. It continues. A matrix material, such as a resin or epoxy, can partially, substantially, or entirely surround the ceramic fibers such that the ceramic fiber weave can be embedded in the matrix material. In some cases, the ceramic fibers can serve to amplify or reduce interference, attenuation, and shielding of wireless signals received or transmitted by the antenna. So, in this patent application, it takes central idea and then details many specifics concerning the elements of housing could be made of this material. It also goes into detail about how the whole device can be assembled and how different components could be manufactured. So it's possible that different elements of the Apple Watch, including the internal components, excuse me, may be supported by this cheaper material, but the overall aim is to reduce the cost of the whole housing and allow for a cheaper watch that remains strong enough to withstand reasonable use. So we'll see about this. This is really interesting to me, but we'll see what happens because, in my opinion, the screen on the Apple Watch Sport isn't even
Hmm.
strong enough. We've mentioned it on previous episodes over
Yeah.
and over. I've been in the Apple stores and they claim that it can withstand, rubbing up against a wall, and that's just not true. So I don't
It
know.
depends on what the wall's made of. A wall of like pads, sure, no problem.
Yeah, a wall of pillows.
Yeah.
It's great. It holds up fantastic. Yeah, the guy didn't specify what type of wall it was.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know.
This is really interesting too, though, because people buy cases for their phones and their watches, which are also made out of plastic, though. So there
Yeah,
is something to this idea that plastics are pretty strong. From a structural standpoint, you do need something else in there to kind of house it and make it a little bit more stable. So that's where this composite weave, like actually weaving the ceramic fibers, is really cool and interesting to me. It
yeah.
reminds me of when I was a kid back in like second grade, and you'd have the big red tables that you'd have to go eat at lunch. And if you ever got underneath them, you could see they also had some kind of like fiber
Oh,
weave on the
right,
underside
right,
of those. So
right.
that's what I'm picturing the inside of what these new watches would look like.
Yeah, it's like yeah, because those tables you're referring to are like a fiberglass, probably like a fiberglass
Yeah.
resin type thing.
Hmm. And then on the outside, they had like a hard plastic on the top so that it was more comfortable to sit on.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
guess this would be cool. I mean, I guess if the watch was cheap enough, and then maybe you still throw a protective case on it, and
Hmm.
maybe a screen protector. But if that case, or I mean, if the cost, sorry, is significantly lower, it'd be pretty cool.
What I
Yeah.
would also be interested though is if they are able to successfully do this and make the watch strong enough, could they also then do like a metal dip or something on top of it to,
Mm.
instead of having it look like plastic, have it look like a metal or a very thin brushed aluminum or gold or something like a plating almost, and then be able to put the actual uh, sapphire glass on top, and because they're offsetting the cost of the case, be able to maintain a cheaper price point but have the stronger glass on the top too.
Yeah.
I'd be
For a
interested in
second,
them.
for a minute there, I was like, I don't know if that would work. But then I just realized I have some cases for my Apple Watch. I don't use them currently, but they're like a hardened rubber, but they
Hmm.
look like metal. They're
Yeah.
shiny. So I actually, if I put that case on, I get my stainless steel look, but it's not stainless steel. But
Right,
it
right.
it looks like almost identical. That would actually be a neat idea if they can do that.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. I'd be all over an Apple Watch that looked like the stainless steel, but it was not. I'd
Right.
be
Yeah, me
totally
too.
cool with that. Totally cool. But I
Yeah,
like
I don't.
shiny. I like shiny
Yeah.
watches. Anyways,
Well, moving on. So we have a cool story here for you football fans out there. The um, Alabama school football team is using Apple Watches to track their players' isolation workouts. So Alabama football is using Apple Watches to track players' remote workouts during isolation and sending them workouts via their iPhone. The Crimson Tide's initiative was reported over Twitter saying Alabama players are wearing Apple Watches during their workouts, so the strength and conditioning coaches are able to track their workouts. The players have apps on their phones with workout programs, per Saban. That's the head coach. In a full report, it was noted that the watches are helping players stay in shape and stay healthy while they're unable to enter the campus in Tuscaloosa due to the coronavirus pandemic and social distancing measures. Players are wearing Apple Watches so that the strength conditioning coaches can send workouts to their phone and monitor their progress. They're also tasking their players with doing self monitoring for sleep and on their heart rate. There was a quote from the coach Saban saying, Baloo and Ray, and that's the uh, conditioning coaches, were very instrumental in setting up this whole program of what we're doing with the players in terms of the Apple Watches for their workouts and the apps on their phones for weight training. We had an issue with some players not having a place to work out because their high schools were closed. We put them on band workout programs, and we've done really, really good job of managing this to the point that the players have done a really, really good job of responding to it. Players, of course, are not required to work out, but the report notes that several team members posting to social media that they are sticking to the routine. So, a self confessed Auburn Tiger, we're sure that Tim Cook will also be on the phone with Gus Malzahn, the Auburn coach, any day now.
This is cool. Yeah, this is kind of neat that they're using the Apple Watch in this way.
I actually wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised to see if more schools start doing this. Not even just colleges or large sports teams, but just as we have a lot of high school students kind of stuck in homes too. If they have Apple Watches to be able to almost submit their PE reports and things like that via
Yeah.
the Apple Watch.
Yeah. Very cool stuff. Very cool. Well, why don't we move on to some Apple quick stories? So, Apple has a new tool that lets you screen yourself for COVID 19. So, Apple's new COVID 19 website and app allows users to screen themselves for coronavirus symptoms and receive recommendations from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on what to do next. The tool was developed in partnership with the CDC, the White House's Coronavirus Task Force, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Both the website and app are made publicly available. That was last week, I think. Um, in a statement, Apple cautioned that the new screening tool is designed to be a resource for individuals and does not replace instructions from a healthcare providers or guidance from state and local health authorities. So, to be clear about that, um, when a user visits the site or downloads the app, the first thing they're asked is whether they're screening themselves for someone else. Immediately after that, Apple flashes a warning screen instructing anyone with constant chest pain or pressure, extreme difficulty breathing, severe and constant dizziness and lightheadedness, slurred speech, or difficulty waking up to immediately call 911. If you aren't already experiencing any of these symptoms, you'll continue to a questionnaire that asks about symptoms, travel, pre existing conditions, and contact with other people. After the questionnaire is submitted, the tool provides recommendations from the CDC on how to proceed. These include guidance on social distancing and self isolation, how to monitor symptoms at home, whether to get tested, and when to seek advice from a medical professional. While the app and the site may advise a COVID 19 test, Apple does not provide details on where to get tested. Instead, the tool instructs the users to get in touch with their doctor's office or local or state or local health department for information. The tool also offers the following caveat: testing access may vary from location and provider. Apple's new tool does not require signing in with an Apple ID, and the company says individual responses will not be sent to Apple or any government organization. Apple says it will not collect personal information, such as answers from the screening tool, but it will collect some information to help improve the site. Any information collected will not personally identify you, according to Apple. In addition to screening tool, the tool offers the resources including answers to frequently ask questions, and the latest advice from the CDC. So we'll have a link in the show notes for both the website and the app. So
Yeah, I think it's important too to call out the fact that they're not providing details on where to get tested, and instead
yeah.
instructing people to get in touch with a doctor's office or state or local health department, just because that information might be changing a lot, right? Depending on how
Oh yeah.
an area is being impacted. So it's really smart to make sure that people are looking to actually getting more current, up to date information. But really
Yeah.
cool, super helpful.
Yeah, and of course, this information is going to vary from city and state. And then, as we've seen, both of us living in Los Angeles, is that even that information, like you said, changes every day, seems
Hmm.
like. So,
Sometimes multiple times a day. So it's important to,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So,
to
this is very
find it
good,
out right
though.
when you need it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. Really cool stuff.
Cool. So earlier we were talking about the update for the Apple Watch, but there was also an update for iOS 13.4 on the for iOS and for iPad OS. So now we are on 13.4.1. And again, this is a update that was going into fixing FaceTime and Bluetooth bug fixes. So if you had an iPad or an iOS iPhone device, that was having issues, particularly doing FaceTime with calls with devices running either iOS 9 or an earlier version of OS X, like El Capitan, some of these bugs may be addressed. Additionally, it's addressing a bug in the settings app where choosing Bluetooth from the quick action menu on the home screen would sometimes fail. So, if you were having any issues with either your Bluetooth not working, your FaceTime when you were FaceTiming with older devices, or there was also an issue with a flashlight in button control for the iPad Pros that wasn't working, a quick update on your operating system might take care of that fix for you. Additionally, there was also an update to macOS. The 10.15.4 supplemental update also updated uh, issues for FaceTime, as well as some USB-C fixes. So it fixed an issue where Mac computers running the macOS Catalina could not participate in FaceTime calls. Again, running with older devices, things running iOS 9 or earlier versions of OS X. It also resolved an issue where you may repeatedly receive a password prompt from Office 365 account. Although if something tells me that's probably Microsoft's fault more than it was Apple's. And it also fixed an issue where the MacBook Air, the 13-inch from 2020, may hang up in Setup Assistant or when disconnecting or reconnecting to a 4K or 5K external display. Um, so go ahead and give your device an update if there are any issues like that you're encountering.
Yeah, this is actually good because, especially with those FaceTime calls, this was actually kind of a bad time to have that not working. And I know that
Hmm.
it was targeted at older devices that are running, or older iOS devices that are running 9.3.6 and earlier, but you may have a relative or a grandparent that's using an older device with that operating system, and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
being able to FaceTime them during this is a total drag. So it's good
And
they
thankfully, the
fixed
fix is
that.
something you can do and not have to have them do.
Yeah.
Right? You update your
Yeah,
device
really.
and then it works.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess you have to do an old fashioned phone call to show your relative how to update
Yeah.
their older iOS device as well.
Mm,
So, moving on. So, this is kind of neat. Apple TV channels is offering free epics until May 2nd without signing up. So, this is pretty
sweet.
cool. Apple is joining Roku and others in offering free access to premium TV, albeit with a slight twist. From now until May 2nd, Apple TV channels is making epics content free to watch without a subscription. You won't have to sign up for a free trial or risk racking up charges later. You will see extended month long trials for a host of other TV services as well, including Showtime, A&E, History Channel, Vault, and Smithsonian Channel Plus. You'll need an Apple device running the Apple TV app. This is both about giving people material to watch during the COVID 19 pandemic, as well as making a case for Apple TV channels and the services that are inside it to people who might not have even considered it before. So, yeah, I threw this in here just because, we're all looking for more content to watch, I'm sure. So, thought I'd throw this in there in case you want to
Yeah.
take advantage of that Epic's channel. And we'll try to keep up on some of this too. These type of subjects have been changing a lot as well. A lot of free offers. I think you're
hmm
doing. Isn't there? There's an HBO one right now
Yeah, I was
too.
about to say. So if you download the HBO app, either the Go or the Now app, they have certain shows that they are putting on for free that you can watch without signing in. So if you've never seen Sopranos, you can log in and just start streaming the entire all. Well, it's technically 7 seasons, although season 6 was split into an A and a B.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, you can just start streaming and watching them there. So there's lots of free, cool programming that's out there, and you don't have to leave the couch.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to throw this story in as well, but I've heard that some of the content on Apple TV Plus is free right now.
hmm
I'm sure if you just if you're not already signed up for your 1 year free, if you have the Apple TV Plus app, that you can just check in there and see what's free. So
Super cool. All right, so moving forward, we have a great story here where Tim Cook, Apple shipping custom face shields to medical workers as mask donations cross 20 million. So Tim Cook is back with another update on Apple's ongoing efforts to help healthcare professionals amid the COVID-19 outbreak. In a new video posted to Twitter on Sunday, April 5th, Cook said that Apple has now sourced over 20 million masks for healthcare workers and is still pushing to do more. Over a week ago, Cook said that Apple had resourced and donated 10 million masks to healthcare professionals, and now that number has risen to 20. And the masks are being sourced through Apple's own supply chain. But perhaps most notably, Cook revealed that Apple has designed custom face shields for medical workers as well. The first shipment of these face shields arrived at a Kaiser hospital in Santa Clara Valley, and the response from the medical workers has been incredible, according to Cook. Apple hopes to hit 1 million shipments of the face shields by the end of this week and to consistently ship 1 million per week after that. And we have a link to the article here in our show notes. But what's really cool is in that guide that Apple published, there's actually these really great little animations that show how to properly fit and size the shields so that you can make sure that you're optimally protected and comfortable while the healthcare professionals are working. So, really cool, just kind of showing that Apple is going above and beyond, as well as making sure that there is lots of access, to these potentially life-saving protection devices.
yeah, we'll have a link to both in the show notes, and I really suggest checking out the instructions and fitting guide because it's really cool. Because I was expecting just to see drawings, but they look like drawings, but they're animated.
hmm
You know,
Yeah, it shows
it
how
was
like the
really
holes
neat.
line up and how to even properly put in the strap, because there's like a special way to install the strap so that you can tighten it and adjust it. It's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. It's worth checking out. So moving on, Apple's going to live stream a concert of sorts coming up soon, called One World Together at Home. It's a virtual concert and a benefit for COVID 19. So the World Health Organization and Global Citizen have announced the One World Together at Home virtual benefit concert for COVID 19, hosted by Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and Stephen Colbert. The event will be streamed live by Apple as well as many other platforms. The event was spearheaded by Lady Gaga and Global Citizen, and they've already raised $35 million in support of the World Health Organization's response to COVID 19.
Wow.
Yeah, the virtual benefit concert will take place on April 18th with a wide lineup of performers. Performers scheduled to make appearances and perform during the benefit include Alanis Morissette, Andrea Bocelli, Billie Eilish, Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, Burna Boy. Chris Martin, David Beckham, Eddie Vedder, Elton John, Phineas, Idris and Sabrina Elba, J Balvin, John Legend, Casey Musgraves, Keith Urban, Kerry Washington, Lang Lang, Lizzo, Maluma, Paul McCartney, Priyana Chopra Jonas, Shah Rukh Khan, and Stevie Wonder. So this is going to be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as
Good
well as,
show.
yeah, yeah. What else do I need to mention in here? So, in addition to this event being broadcasted on Apple TV, obviously, it'll be on ABC, NBC, Viacom CBS networks, and iHeartMedia in the United States, Bell Media platforms in Canada, as well as an additional international broadcast through BBC One, BIN Media Group, MultiChoice Group, and RTE. It will also be streamed live through Alibaba, Amazon Prime Video, Facebook, Instagram, LiveX Live, Tencent, Tencent Music Entertainment Group, Tidal, TuneIn, Twitch, Twitter, Yahoo, and YouTube.
Wow.
So there's a few places to watch it. This actually sounds really cool. I'm actually excited about it. I'm excited to see how they do this as far as it being like a stay-at-home concert. What interests me is um probably these will sound a lot better than what we've seen from people doing at home. I love that.
Yeah, I would
yeah
hope.
there's there's been a lot of them, but they're really cool. Queen, right? Of course, like
Hmm.
Brian May's been doing home videos of him playing guitar, which are really neat, but the downside is always the audio doesn't sound great.
Hmm.
So this will be neat to see what happens with this. And I'm a huge Stevie Wonder fan, so
Well, it's certainly a diverse group of
yeah,
artists, so there's got to be something in there for everybody. And it's a great cause too. So, you know, sit
yeah,
back, listen to some cool music, maybe make a donation, and see if we can all get through this.
yeah. I'll be watching it for sure. I'm just a little confused on where I want to watch it.
Yeah, spoiled for choice on that one.
Yeah, there's like 20 choices. So, anyways,
Well, cool. So, Apple and Stanford Medicine have released their own new first responder COVID-19 screening app. This new iPhone app from Apple and Stanford is designed to give first responders the ability to quickly screen for any symptoms of the coronavirus and schedule testing if needed. As well as creating a guide app for the public, Apple has now worked with Stanford to provide this testing one for emergency and first responders. The Stanford Medicine, based in California, says that it's using its own experts, plus Apple's Research Kit and Care Kit frameworks to provide trustworthy and up to date information to frontline workers. They're quoted in saying, "We're expanding the reach of our expertise to provide answers for people who are busy serving others during this crisis. Uh, it is our hope that this technology will ease some of the burden for people on the front lines and will help inform those who seek a reliable source on COVID 19. The app, freely available in the US App Store, is based on Stanford Medicine's own testing, and it asks the first responders a series of questions about symptoms and exposure. If it transpires that the user needs a COVID 19 test, then they can schedule an appointment with Stanford Medicine. It also follows Stanford's creation of high priority drive through COVID 19 testing for emergency services in California's Santa Clara and San Mateo counties. And while the app is available to anyone in the US to download, it was designed especially for approximately 8,000 first responders in the region. Stanford Medicine says that by default, the data collected from the app's questionnaire stays on the user's device, but they can elect to send it to a health provider. Apple's work with Stanford is only one of the very many responses the company has had to the COVID 19 outbreak. The company added a coronavirus section to its Apple News service, which we talked about in a previous podcast, and has updated advice on cleaning devices to avoid any change or chance of spreading the contagion. So we have a link to it in our show notes. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's a great way, especially if you or a loved one you know may believe that they are exposed or have questions. It's a good way to maybe get a first blush
yeah.
just to kind of see.
Yeah, if you're a first responder, this is a great app. I like that they separated this from the other app that we mentioned, just the regular
Hmm.
screening app. These first responders, thank you again for all of them, for they're putting their life in danger, so it's very important to us that they remain healthy. So this app should do a good job in screening them, if they feel like they need screening. And
Hmm.
I like that it's separate from the other app, because there's a difference between those first responders and just us that are in the public. So this is very cool.
Yep. Very cool.
So, are you ready for this story?
Oh
Are you
no.
sitting down? Is our
What happened?
listener sitting down? We're not going to get any new emojis till 2021.
No. How
Oh
will I
man.
express myself, Kevin? How? Sad
um
face. Poop emoji.
yeah, you could try with words.
Nobody wants to listen to me talk.
It's not the they like when you talk.
Apparently.
Um
Maybe.
so yeah, so I threw this in here because it's related, because it's affecting kind of everyone. uh Not everyone, but all platforms. So
Hmm.
Android and iOS. I don't know that we really need to dig into this story, to tell you the truth. I don't think it's that important. I just thought it was kind of funny. So
Yeah. Well, it just goes to
yeah,
show that the contributors have other things on their plates. So
yes, they have more important things. So
yeah.
yeah, it looks like we may not get some new emojis till 2022. The good news is that the emoji that were announced earlier this year, like the olive, beaver, and plunger, will still be available this fall. So
Oh,
you don't
good.
have to worry
Good.
about those. Yeah, I've been waiting on the plunger and the
Yeah.
beaver. Olive, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I don't know. There's not too much else to say about this. It just kind of makes me laugh. I don't think it's important per se right now.
There's still quite a few great emojis out there right now, and you can get some fun gifs in a pinch.
Yeah, somehow I think humanity will make it through this and will
Barely.
survive without new emojis till 2022.
Maybe we
Somehow.
should have a like a singing show for the emojis.
Oh, like a
I
benefit
need an emote
concert.
aid. Yeah, I need a benefit concert.
Mm, you should stage that.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, Moving on to some Apple extended stories. So this was a big story that dropped on the 31st of March. So Apple buys dark sky weather app. So Apple has bought the weather app Dark Sky, which is highly regarded for its radar maps and accuracy of its hyper-local by-the-minute weather predictions. It's still available in the iOS App Store, as you might expect, but the Android and Wear OS versions will be shut down on July 1st. You'll no longer be able to download the app on those platforms, and people who are still subscribed to the service when Dark Sky pulls the plug will receive a refund. Dark Sky's forecast, maps, and embeds will keep working on the web until July 1st. The website will stay online after then in support of the API and iOS app customers. As for the API, it'll remain active till next year, but Dark Sky won't let any more or anyone else sign up. It seems
Hmm.
like Apple will use Dark Sky's know how to bolster its own weather app. Apple has used data from Yahoo in their current weather app, which is owned by Engadget's parent company, Verizon, and it also uses sources from the Weather Channel to power that app over the years. So this, man, this when this dropped, I think I sent you a text. I was really excited. I use Dark
Yeah.
Sky is sort of my main weather app. I like it on the Apple Watch. I have it on my main Apple Watch watch face that I use.
Oh wow. Yeah.
The reason why, because the default weather app that comes on Apple devices and the Apple Watch, you have to set your locations within the app.
Hmm.
But then let's say, because I work 25 miles away, if I have the weather on my watch face that is the area that I live in, when I get to my work, it doesn't change. As
Uh,
where, yeah, dark sky changes wherever you go. So I highly recommend it. I don't remember how much it is. I was hoping they would just make it free for everyone. Usually when they acquire these companies, they just make it free. But I'm a big fan of dark sky. I feel sorry for anyone who's on Android because this is a big, big bummer for them. Because
yeah, the fact
it's a
that they're not servicing Android and Wear OS anymore leads me to believe that they're expecting to roll it into their current weather app.
yeah,
So at that point, then it would also be free, right? Um, and I think it's good that Apple does that, where they go through and they acquire companies and then use their APIs or their software and designs and stuff like that um, into their own thing, as opposed to just stealing it and killing a small business. So I like that
yeah.
that way a lot more.
Yeah, this will be really good for us.
Hmm.
Apple's default weather app has got a lot of shame over the years for
I
not
mean, it
being.
still tells me what the
It's
temperature is and if it's raining outside. So it did enough, but
it's
there are definitely weather apps out there that do better.
yeah. Well, this is one of them.
Yeah.
It in my experience using it, it's been really fantastic. I like getting alerts too. I get alerts from dark sky when it's going to start raining or stop raining, stuff like that.
Oh, see, I should
Yeah.
check that out now, because right now I have this issue where, like, I'm trying to do my walks every day, and sometimes if it's raining, I can't do it. So I have to, like, granted, I'm looking out the window all the time anyways, but it would be kind of nice to get rain alerts. So maybe I'll see if I can start using it now before it gets shuttered completely.
Yeah, it's a very cool app. Just alone, using it alone on your Apple Watch is a great thing because, like I said, it changes uh, per your location, which is
That's super
very
convenient.
handy,
Yeah.
and the default weather app does not. So, very
Hmm.
cool stuff. We'll see where this goes, and hopefully, they'll put it in iOS 14 and watchOS 7, and we'll have more accurate weather. I'd love to see alerts as well from the default weather app, would be cool.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
would be
I actually
nice.
don't mind those kind of notifications and alerts, so that would
Especially
be
if you can
cool.
have them come in silent, where they just come up
Mhm.
or you prioritize them.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it'd be very cool.
So, all right, moving forward, Apple eliminates iPhone camera hijack. They have eliminated a number of serious flaws that allowed an iPhone's camera to be hijacked. There was a hacker named Ryan Pickering um, who discovered the vulnerabilities during a pretty intense bug hunting expedition in Safari. He was paid $75,000 through Apple's bug bounty program for his efforts. iOS is considered the most secure mobile operating system, and Apple has spent years bolstering its protections to ensure iPhone and iPad users don't have to worry about their devices being exploited and their data being compromised. As is often the case with software, however, there are vulnerabilities that go undetected. Pickering found no less than 7 in Safari, uh, three of which allowed an iPhone's camera to be hijacked by malicious code. A bug like this shows why users should never feel totally confident that their camera is secure, regardless of operating systems or manufacturer, says Pickering. The vulnerabilities were discovered last December when Pickering decided to hammer the browser with obscure corner cases until strange behavior was uncovered. He focused on camera security despite it being incredibly strong. Apple was quick to provide fixes after Pickering reported his findings to Apple, and the three most serious vulnerabilities that allowed access to the cameras. Apple put in a fix in late January in Safari 13.0.5 update. The other less severe flaws were fixed in Safari 13.1, which was rolled out March 24th. So if you haven't updated Safari, please update Safari because you don't want people being able to exploit your FaceTime cameras.
Y
Not that it was a huge break or that there were any other cases of it being exploited. Um, being reported, but it is still good to know that they have been plugging some holes, so to speak.
Yeah. What I like about this story too is that if you're a bug hunter and you're able to find these bugs, you are getting paid, because we had reported
Yeah,
probably several episodes ago about this new kind of bug bounty program that Apple has. And yeah, this guy got $75,000
yeah,
for
it's big
finding
bucks
that.
too. That's good
So
stuff.
yeah, and it helps us be more secure. So this is great. And it's great to see that they're actually paying out, doing what they said they were going to do.
Hmm.
So, well, moving on, did you see this rumor? We don't cover a lot of rumors on our podcast, but this one is kind of neat. So, Apple may be planning to add like home screen widgets in iOS 14.
I'm
So,
all about it.
yeah,
I
this
like it.
yeah, this is great. This comes from Apple Magazine. So, Apple is reportedly considering adding home screen widgets and a bunch of new customizations akin to Android in its upcoming iOS 14 operating system. The company is keen to introduce new ways to personalize iOS in its upcoming update, and is planning on adding new widgets that can be moved freely around the home screen, similar to the way widgets can be downloaded and interact with on Android operating system. Insiders have suggested that the new feature is codename Avocado, and that the
Delicious.
company and that the company will be working on the feature, and that it may not be ready in time for the beta release in June. Hmm,
Hmm.
that's interesting. Well, you'll have to let us know. I'm not going to do the beta, I swear. I say that
Yeah, you
all
don't
the
have
time.
good. Yeah, you don't have good experiences with the betas.
No, well, I got to say, if we go back to our stories about iOS, the newest iOS updates, there's still a lot of bugs. Um,
Hmm.
I'm getting a lot of bugs. So I've had all I can stand, and yeah, every time I do the beta, you know, I don't have good luck. But if you do it, you can report to us about it. But
I've always had pretty good luck with the betas, and right now too, I don't have too many issues with too many bugs. Um, Actually, the one issue that I'm having that's the most annoying, I don't even know if it's technically a bug. It just more the fact that it's a weird user experience
mhm.
issue. But like, if I'm wearing my watch and I have my phone in my hand and my iPad in my hand, and I say "Hey S," sometimes it triggers all of the devices.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So I need them to like all be synced together and then only respond to me on one.
yeah.
Ideally, my watch.
That I don't know how they'll ever fix.
Yeah, like all of your devices have to be talking to each other at all time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I know what you mean too, because I like to have my watch on silent all the time. I never have the sound on, right? And
mhm.
I like to set like timers on my watch. But if my phone is nearby, my phone will try to hear it, right? So I'm usually,
Yeah,
of course, our listeners can't see this. You can see on our video call, but I kind of like get
whisper it to your wrist.
get my watch up close, like
Yeah.
turn my face away and try to whisper into it, set timer.
Mhm.
So it's a pain. Yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah,
pain. But I've
I
had
first
other
noticed it
bugs.
was an issue.
What?
I first noticed it was an issue when I was riding my bike and I first got the AirPods,
Mm,
and I would try to use Siri through the AirPods
hmm.
to start a bike ride or something, but then my watch would take it instead, and it wouldn't always hear me properly because my wrist is farther away from my hand, but I'm like just talking out into the ether because I'm talking to my headphones. And so sometimes it would be an issue. So I'd have to like, I don't know, make sure that at least my watch wasn't being like illuminated or brought up closer. That seemed to help a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever fix that though. I don't even know how they would. In my head, I can't figure out how they would fix it. But I've had just kind of minor, little issues. One that's new is a lot of times when I'll click on a link, it can be in an email, something like that. That's like a web, a link to Safari, but it goes to
Hmm.
Safari and then goes to Instagram. And then I hit the back button up in the top left to Safari, and then it'll go back to Instagram again. I'm like, stop it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And it's not a big deal, and I think I mentioned this on the previous episode, is I could kinda give them some leeway here because 'cause they're probably short-staffed right now. There's probably, you know, like, parts of the software that they have to maintain, and it's maybe just not getting maintained, but
I
there's
also wonder though if that's an issue with whoever's sending and generating that link, right? Like if they're programming it to open Safari when it does it,
I
or open Instagram when it does it, as opposed to Safari, and then so the phone
mm,
goes, it's a link, open Safari, then it reroutes to Instagram.
that could be too, maybe it's just a coincidence that it happened starting with 13.4,
Maybe,
It
yeah.
could be just a coincidence that, like you said, someone programmed it that way and it just so happened it when I updated, but
Hmm.
it's really not
Hmm.
the fault of iOS 13.4. But yeah, there's a few bugs here and there. Back to what you were saying too about running the beta, I think you have less issues as well because I think you mentioned that you don't have a lot of extra apps on
That's
your
true. I
phone.
don't run a
Yeah.
lot of extra things.
Yeah, I have a lot. Like a
I mean,
lot.
like, I do have a lot of apps. That's mostly because I don't delete things.
Yeah.
But I have my core, what, like 20 apps that I use,
Mm.
and then and most of the ones that I use are, if there's an Apple version of it, I'll use that. Like I use
Oh, okay.
Safari, I use Mail, I use Apple Maps, I use the weather app, I use the stock app. Like I all of the, like
I,
the native ones. So I think that's probably part of the reason too. It makes sense
yeah,
that the betas would play nicer with their own apps.
absolutely. That's where my problem lies is I don't use the default mail app. I don't use the default weather app
Mm,
too much. I ask Siri, for the weather, but
yeah,
yeah, that's definitely where my issue lies. I haven't been using Safari either. So, yeah, I'm sure
so that
that's
makes sense.
a lot of it. But back to the widgets. This would be really really cool. I briefly had an Android phone, as you know, and it was kind of neat to just have those widgets. Also, I wonder if they'll make it so you can freely move your apps around and not have to fill out each home screen, right?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Because you do have that freedom on Android. I mean, you can shape them like a triangle, form all your apps like a triangle or whatever you want.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you obviously us on iOS cannot do that. That would be kind of neat too, because I've seen people that will put one app on their first home screen, and so they have to swipe over for all their other apps. I
Interesting.
think my dad was doing that for a while, and so maybe you'd want like just a widget on your first screen, and then you have to swipe over for all your other apps. So we'll see where that goes, but you know,
You can
and
actually do that now. You can have a
yeah, you can have like one app, but you can't have widgets. So,
no, no. It would be
um,
nice to be able to have like widgets and stuff in it, but actually what I was thinking is it would be kind of cool. Maybe I'll spend the time to do this, but like make each page be dedicated to a type of app. So
oh
like
yeah,
have all of my media stuff on one. Similar to like folders, right? But
yeah,
instead of having to tap into the folder, all my travel into
yeah,
one. It would be nice that the reason why I want widgets is because I'd like some more of that quick glance information
mm-hmm.
to be up a little bit earlier. So like the fact that the weather app can't just tell me the actual weather on the home screen, I think is a total loss like through the
Yeah,
app icon. Thankfully, the clock does tell you the current time.
yeah,
And so does the calendar. But like I want more things like that. That's really the reason why I want it. Or to be able to like do quick, I don't know, calculator calculations without having to open the app might be kind of nice, or
yeah.
yeah,
Actually,
stuff like that.
I would like weather on the lock screen. Pretty much every Android phone does that.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
wouldn't be bad. Or
that would
even
be,
some kind of like a complication similar to what the Apple Watch does. If I could add little complications to my lock screen, I think that'd be kind of cool too.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. I think Android and iOS are kind of blurring their lines. I know I've mentioned it on previous podcasts, but they just continue to blur the lines between the both. of those operating
Mhm.
systems. So kind of good. It's good for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Well, moving on, this was some really big news and broke recently. Apple and Google to set phones to help track coronavirus. So this is very rare of these two companies working together, first of all.
Mhm.
So Apple and Google unveiled an ambitious effort on Friday, April 10th, to help combat coronavirus, introducing new tools that could soon allow owners of smartphones to know if they have crossed paths with someone infected with the disease. The changes the two companies announced targeting iPhone and Android devices could inject valuable new technological support info, contact tracing, sorry, and strategy public health officials say is essential to allowing people to return to work and normal life while containing the spread of the pandemic. Apple and Google are hoping to harness Bluetooth technology typically used to connect device owners' wireless speakers and keyboards. With the aid of technology, public health officials soon would be able to deploy apps and the ability to sense other smartphones nearby. If a person learns they have coronavirus, they could indicate on their app that they've been infected, and those people whose smartphones have been in their vicinity would be notified, regardless of whether they have, whether they're, if their devices are run on Apple or Google software. So Apple and Google said they expect to make tools available to developers to assemble such contact tracing apps as soon as mid-May, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, with further enhancements to the operating systems, expanding the system's reach to follow. The company said the technology would not track a user's specific location or reveal an infected person's identity to the tech giants or the governments worldwide. The announcement marks an unprecedented collaboration between the two tech rivals among the country's largest corporations. But the success of their efforts will hinge on whether public health officials can create apps fast enough and whether people download and use them consistently. Most of all, it relies on a widespread availability of testing, a lingering challenge in the United States where many Americans still cannot figure out if they've contracted coronavirus.
Yeah, the testing I think is going to be the big solve for this. Which I saw another article today saying that the government is looking to within the next week or so release a couple of tests that would allow people to determine whether or not they had the virus if they have the antibodies in them. And so I think that will also be helpful for people, especially since there's some people who may have it right now that aren't showing symptoms, or people who had an illness but they didn't know. Um, so once you kind of have that information, then being able to mark it in your device to help inform other people that you had been in contact with that they had been in contact with somebody who at one point had it would be good, just to kind of help show how easy it is to come in contact with somebody, as well as help to start uh, keeping people a little bit more alert as they're going about their day, still going to the grocery store and doing what they got to do. So
Yeah, this
pretty
would be
cool.
neat. It's definitely rare that these companies have worked together as well. But yeah, this, like they say in this article, is it definitely relies on people using the app, which who knows? There's a lot of people that are paranoid about being tracked. I know people that still won't even use Siri, you know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that they're doing this and I hope for the best, but as far as people participating, we'll see, you know, see
Hmm.
how that goes. Anyways, it's a good thing. Very cool. So, in some non-coronavirus news, you have a new gift for me, right? It's the new
Yeah,
2020
yeah.
iPad Pro. You're just testing it to make sure it works
I'm breaking it
correctly.
in for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
break it in. Can't wait to get it. I'll wipe it down, make sure it's all germ free, all that.
Yeah, I
But
don't know if you can have it right now until you get vaccinated, man. It's just not safe.
you're gonna keep it till June
I'm
or
just gonna keep it. I'll just keep it entirely. Yeah,
Oh
because
no, 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 no. Anyways,
So
so
yes, I got for myself a 2020 iPad Pro, um, the 12.9 inch.
ooh,
Um, yeah, it's
and
my self isolation device.
what capacity did you get?
So my old iPad was an iPad Air 2. No, I'm sorry, an iPad Air 1,
Yeah.
and was very old with only 16 gigs of hard drive space. And
Ooh,
so I went, okay, well, the
16?
16 back in the
Ouch.
day. Yeah. I started realizing that had some issues, especially as the iPad started aging, and I wanted to be using the iPad Pro for illustrations and stuff, which tend to be a little bit larger. So I did upgrade, and I got the 256 gigabyte. So I didn't go, super ham on it, but I did want to get the a little bit larger space just to do some future proofing.
Oh, okay.
I got the Apple Pencil 2 as well.
Ooh.
That can do the little magnet charging
Oh,
on the
yes,
side. It's pretty
yes.
slick. It's really cool. Actually, I have it right here. I can pull it up.
Now, did you purchase the Magic Keyboard as well?
It's not available yet. You
But I
can't buy
mean,
that yet.
oh, you can't
I
even
want
purchase
to.
it.
No, they just show it. It's out there. I think there's a price on it, but you can't order it or anything like that yet.
Oh, okay. For some reason I thought they were letting people order it, but it just didn't arrive till what, May? Something like that?
Right, right, yeah.
Hmm.
So I do very much want that Magic Keyboard cover, particularly because of the way that it can kind of hold everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel very paranoid right now because it's still very slick and new, and it doesn't have any scratches on it, but I don't have a case on it. So
Oh.
I want a case, but I don't want to buy a case and then buy another case in a couple of months.
Oh, maybe you
Um,
need maybe there's some, kind of cheap one out there or something temporary.
yeah. So,
But
but ultimately, it's been very good. It's huge. I have been really enjoying all of the extra space to do multitasking. So, what's nice is I can have, um, I'm using Procreate to do drawings and illustrations. And so I can have Procreate up and then also have Safari up and have like reference photos and things like that I'm able to copy and show. Um, I was also able to do recently. So my wife and I have started doing some calorie counting and stuff like that to help try to not gain weight while we're in quarantine. Um, and so it was cool. I was able to have multiple Safari windows up, and we were looking at different things and doing calculations and stuff. So it's been
cool.
very helpful for that.
Yeah, because I was
Downloaded some
gonna.
games on it too, which are fun.
Oh yeah, and yeah, at some time you'll have to do a review of that Procreate.
Yes,
That
I'm
would be
still
a good
learning
thing.
it.
Yeah, it's
In fact,
awesome.
I just bought a class, like a 6 hour
Oh,
intro to Procreate, so I can learn all of the ins and outs, which is really cool.
okay.
And the pencil is very nice. It is easily the Pencil 2 is easily the best stylus pencil I have ever used. And I've used a couple of them, and I think it's in conjunction with the iPad Pro, like they're meant for each other. So
Mm-hmm.
those are really really nice. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so if I that's all the good things about it. There's a
Well,
couple of things that I think are interesting that I have
I was gonna
noticed.
ask you something too. Is what do you think of iPad OS? Because I know the iPad Air I don't think was able to run iPad OS. I'm able to run iPad OS on my iPad Air 2, but it's a bit clunky, and iOS 13.4 really slowed it down for some reason,
Hmm.
like significantly. Like it just clogged it up really bad. So, but I was wondering what you think of iPad OS.
I'm actually really liking it. On the Pro, especially the new Pro, it is very snappy, and feels very very like quick and robust. Um, the I'm trying to think of some of the major differences between that and iOS, which there's some. But considering I couldn't get iPad OS on my older device, I'm not sure what was like a limitation of the old iPad and what's part of the iPad OS. So the multitasking was a big update for me. Um, yeah, being able to do the handoff is nice. I'm trying to think what else.
Are you
There's still a
using
bunch of things I haven't learned on it yet.
like the in settings there you can change the size of the app icons. There's the more and the bigger. Are you using?
Right. I have it set to the default because they felt like a good size. I didn't want it like a whole bunch of giant
Yeah.
icons on it. And so I actually have it set to right now so that there is the little widgets on the sides. The
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm already kind of getting a vibe for what that'll feel like on iOS 14. I can see my weather app. It actually tells me what the weather is. I can see my calendar, and then I have the battery thing there, which is great too because it helps me know if the battery on the pencil is charged or my headphones, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I for a while I was using the more selection for
mhm.
icons, and then I probably just because it was new and shiny, something different, but then I hated it after a while, and I switched back to the bigger app icons, kind of the way the way the iPad comes. Now, do you use the iPad at all yet for, like, any of the work you do? And if so, how does it affect your workflow?
I haven't used it for any of my work stuff yet, and it
Yet.
probably won't be considering everything
Okay.
that's going on in the next few weeks. But my plan is to learn how to use like Adobe Draw,
Mhm.
um, which will also start to change my workflow. And then Procreate will be great just for illustrations and stuff like that, which I don't do a lot of those right now for work, but there definitely are opportunities for it. Um, I have Photoshop downloaded, but I haven't started playing with it yet. What I have been able to use it for is Blue Jeans, which is like a Zoom or a FaceTime app that we use within our organization.
Mhm.
And so it's nicer to have the larger display for that, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm excited about, particularly I think for Procreate. That's
Yeah.
the main use case that I'm really interested in.
Do you have a Bluetooth mouse you can use with it? Have you tried that?
I do. I haven't tried connecting that yet. I
Okay.
also want to try. I wish that Adobe would release a iPad version of Adobe XD that's not just a like a testing device kind of thing, but instead an actual like go ahead and start doing it because I think the hardware on it is strong enough to be able to support it. And if I had a full keyboard and mouse too, I would be able to as well. So it'll be interesting to kind of see as they kind of move forward in developing those applications. Also, this one has the lidar
Oh, yeah.
camera screen,
Have you
which I
messed
haven't
you haven't
I
messed with
haven't
it?
been able to yet. I was looking for apps on the App Store that would utilize it, and I didn't really find any. There's one called Patchy Scan 3D, um, but it didn't really. I don't know. It's detecting. Well, I guess now in this case it is. Yeah, it can detect it, but I haven't been able to really get it to do anything interesting for it. I'm trying to see here.
Hmm.
So it is like right now I'm actually scanning the computer in you and it's putting little dots over everything. So it does know all the different points of contact on stuff,
Wow.
which is pretty cool.
Neat. Uh,
So I'm
ha
excited to see as what that ends up getting developed for more.
have you tried the speakers or the microphone? Because if I'm not mistaken, the microphone is supposed to be better quality now, like almost like podcast quality. Have you
Oh
tried any
right. No,
recording, like any voice
I haven't
memos or?
recorded anything. No, I should try that next.
Yeah,
I have used the speakers. The speakers are fantastic. So it sounds very nice and crisp. It sounds like a laptop, but they're
like a
just coming
good
out of these little
laptop.
holes on the bottom. Yeah. Um, like any of the newer Mac laptops have a pretty good speaker set,
Yeah.
and these are also the same. Also, the iPhone, like it's basically like the iPhone, but just a little bit louder, which is really nice.
Yeah,
So
we've spoke about that before too. I like that they're paying attention to the speakers on all their
mhm.
devices.
I like the fact that it's USB-C on the bottom instead of the
Mhm.
Lightning cable. I haven't tried installing any, drives or anything to it yet, or a camera or anything, but it's good to know that that's there when I want to do that later. Yeah, and then so I was saying that like my only gripe, and it's really a silly thing. It's not really a gripe, but I've gotten used to it's got the Face ID on it, right, which is really nice. The problem is the Face ID is at the top of the of if you're
Oh,
holding it in
yeah.
portrait mode,
Yeah.
but I'm used to holding my iPad, and my instinct is to hold it in landscape mode, and so my hands end up covering the Face ID camera. But it does this really fun little thing where if you're covering it, when you're on the lock screen, it will pull an arrow and point to where the camera is. So you go,
Oh,
oh, I got to
really?
move my hand. Yeah. Let me see if I can
That's
get it
funny.
to do it. Oh, I unlocked it back. So hold
It's
on.
like over there. Hello.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're covering it. All right, here. Let me
Yeah, sorry, listeners. You won't be able
see.
to
You
see
kind
this.
of,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
oh, it went off. But yeah, the little
That's
arrow. So
that's pretty funny. I didn't know that
I thought
existed.
that was a, yeah, I didn't either. And at first I was like, why are they showing me an arrow? Oh, I'm covering the camera. So there's just a learning curve on like
You,
where to hold it.
when you first saw the arrow, did you just look across the room, like look to your left, like
What?
what? What's
Yeah.
over? What is it pointing? I don't see anything. My wife
Yeah.
is right there, but what? What?
It's like, am I supposed to hand it to her now? I don't get it.
Yeah, your time's up. Hand it to your wife.
Yeah.
Her turn.
You have to share. So
Well, cool.
overall, highly recommend it, especially if you're in the market for a new iPad and you have the budget for the pro level. If you're planning on using it as a content creator, it's um, definitely strong enough to do that. Um, I'm interested to see the enhancements that they end up doing to the Apple Pencil that we had talked about before, too.
Yeah.
Because already I'm seeing like one of the ones, the patents we talked about was being able to change the color on this by like tapping something and like absorbing that color. I could see that being really helpful instead of having to go to the setting and find it. So interesting stuff coming up on it, but overall, a very, very cool device.
And
Very
fast,
intuitive and easy.
fast, right? Because
It's super fast.
they claim it's faster than some laptops or computers.
Yes, it is. It is blazing fast. Applications open like that. Lock screen, flies open, which is really nice. Um, I haven't had anything lag. Even Safari, I feel like runs faster
Mm,
than definitely runs faster than my old iPad. And
yeah.
feels like just as snappy, if not snappier, than my phone. So
Yeah.
all very good.
My fiance wants one because she does similar work, like graphic
Hmm.
work, like you do. And yeah, she really wants one. So we'll see. See if she gets one.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Anything else you want to mention about the iPad Pro before we move on?
No, I think that's about it. It's interesting too. Quick little other note. So design wise, it has the camera bump like the phone does,
Right.
but because it is so much larger, but the camera bump is about the same size, it doesn't bother me as much,
Mm.
which is interesting.
Oh yeah, because on your phone too, you don't run a case. So
Right, right.
that's where the camera bump becomes a little bit annoying. I never noticed because my case kind of,
Kind of hides it.
makes the camera bump sit actually under the case. Yeah.
Interestingly, too, it's thinner than my phone.
Really?
Yeah, the iPad, and by like a third almost. It's
Wow.
thinner. So I'm interested. I remember I'd seen some leaks on the what the iPhone 12 is supposed to look like, and it's supposed to be. I've heard that it may have the squared edges, so it'll be similar to like the iPhone 4 was. And I kind of hope that's the case because if they can get it to be almost as thin as this iPad Pro, um, we're in for a very, very remarkably strong but thin device that could feel very good in the hand. So very interesting to see.
Cool. Very cool. Well, we'll move on then, if that's it. And I have one item that I just threw in the for your entertainment section, and that's Apple CEO Tim Cook makes a surprise appearance on the Tonight Show via FaceTime. This goes back to the One World at Home concert.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Jimmy Fallon is joined by Lady Gaga. Then Lady Gaga calls Tim Cook and gets him to kind of commit to donating some money.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, but it's cool. I just threw it in there in case, anyone wants something to watch. It's, I think, 10-15 minutes long. It's just kind of cool. See Lady Gaga and Jimmy Fallon, and then Tim Cook join in. And if you've seen any videos lately of Tim Cook, they're all from his home office. So
Yeah.
this looks like it's the exact same spot, you know? So yeah, kind of cool, kind of neat. Anyways, why don't we move on to our picks or tips? So I guess I'll start off. Now I have a pick and a tip just because the pick is not like a major pick. So
Okay.
two things. Well, why don't I do the pick first? So this is called Arcade Watch Games, and maybe you can actually click on it and check the price because I I got
All
it
right.
free. I believe it might be 99 cents unless it's currently still free. I tend to grab these just when they're free. Anyways, it's a series of games. It's mainly for the Apple Watch, but it's also available on the iPhone and iPad. And it's the title of it again is Arcade Watch Games and then 3D and Retro 8-bit Game Pack. So there's several
Ooh.
games. Um, there's here are the list of the games available inside. It's Incoming Missile. That's where you steer your spaceship avoiding asteroids and missiles. There's Alley Ball, roll down, changing alleyways using the watch crown to maneuver through. There's one called Boat Run, high speed action, navigating your boat using the watch crown to collect gold medals and to avoid crashing into treacherous and unpredictable river at increasing speeds. Uh, there's another one called Dodge 'em biplanes. That's where you take to the skies with dual biplanes by tapping them to switch fight corridors in order to dodge on oncoming aircraft and pick the rundles, whatever that is. I don't know what that is.
Hmm.
Um, I won't list all of them here, but there's one, or I won't go into details of all of them, but there's plenty more. There's one called Flippity Fly. There's Getaway Gramps. Actually, let me mention the Getaway Gramps. Help Gramps make his cross country getaway by swiping across to round corners, tapping to jump over obstacles, and swiping down and slide under obstructions on his way to freedom. See,
Oh.
I had to describe that one. There's another game called Pile High, Poultry Dash, Rainbow Runner, Table Pong, and Wormer. So these are kind of neat. They're, you know, just something to kind of pass the time on your Apple Watch. I don't think, well, actually, you probably could use it. I guess if you were careful waiting in line at a market, just don't get germs on
Hmm.
your Apple Watch screen. Was it 99
I
cents?
did. I
Or was it?
checked. It's still currently free.
Okay,
So
so at the time of this
as of
recording,
April
it's
10th.
free. Yeah,
Yes.
but it may not be free. So we'll try to, yeah, hopefully we'll have this posted soon and people can get it free. But I believe it's 99 cents when it's not free. But
Still not a
yeah,
bad price, a buck. Yeah.
yeah, it actually, even if it was $3 for all those games or $4, maybe even $5, all those
Be worth
games.
it.
Yeah, instead of just one game.
Hmm.
So my tip is at first I put this in there as a tip of something you might want to do, and I kind of changed my mind that it's something you probably should not do as per Apple's recommendations too. So during the coronavirus, a lot of cities are requiring us to wear a mask when we leave
Hmm.
our place of residence. So someone posted an article. This actually came from Cult of Mac, and it's all over the place. But you can set your Face ID on your iPhone or iPad as well, I guess, to where it can detect your face through the mask. And so what people are doing,
Oh.
yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole details. I will include a link in the show notes and I'll get into a little bit of the details because you basically go into settings, Face ID and passcode, and then you select alternative appearance. And what people are doing is holding up half the mask to their face, right? So it's detecting part of your
Hmm.
face and part of the mask. And for some reason that works. I'm almost thinking Apple might kill this soon because they don't recommend this at
Yeah.
all. So that's
So
why
if
I
you tried to
said,
do it with your face covered, though, it wouldn't work. You have to have part of your face shown.
so yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, for some reason, when it's scanning your face and sees half of it covered, somehow that's supposed to work. Now, I also think it depends on the mask that you're using.
Mm.
We've
Mm-hmm.
been wearing, we meaning me and my fiance, we been wearing bandanas when we leave out of our place of residence. And so I tried doing it with a bandana just to see if it would
Mm-hmm.
work. No way possible. I
Didn't.
don't know if it has to do with the
Mm.
pattern that's on the bandana, something like that.
Maybe.
As where if you're wearing like a white kind of medical looking mask, the pleated kind,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would work. But folks, I don't really recommend doing this. You're you know you're making it so possibly others can get into your phone.
Yeah, it makes you less
If it's
secure.
just scanning your eyes, and again, Apple does not recommend doing this whatsoever. I would think they would kill it, like I said. And so I would just use your passcode and stick with that. But if you really think you want to do this, again, I'll have a link in the show notes for this.
Think of it this way: if you are a first responder
Yeah,
and
that's true.
you're wearing a mask for the bulk of your day and constantly trying to not take, you don't want to touch your mask that often,
That's
especially if you're
true.
around a lot of people. I could see it as a possibility. It should definitely be something that you disable after everything is through, though.
Yeah, maybe disable it on a daily basis. I could
Yeah,
actually, that's
maybe.
a good point too. I can see where this would be handy for like first responders, not you and I or the general public,
Yeah,
because we're
yeah,
just going to the grocery store and we're not on the
yeah.
front
It's not a
line.
big deal to put your passcode in.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen, we get flooded with articles about coronavirus, COVID-19, but some of these doctors and nurses, they're wearing these masks all day and they actually get like
Hmm.
lines on their face and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
man, I feel for these people and I thank them again. Man, can't thank them
Yes,
enough for
definitely.
their service. Anyways, again, a link will be in the show notes if you really want to do this, but don't recommend it. Anyways,
Mm.
do you have a
I
pick
have a pick.
or
I do.
you have a pick
So
this time?
today's pick is Discord.
All
Now
right.
this is actually an app and a website. It's for the Mac OS or the iPhone. Doesn't have an Apple Watch application. But what Discord is it is uh, a communication application that allows you to basically do chat, video, and voice talks and discussion voice groups with different people. So imagine like texting and FaceTime and your normal phone all kind of merged into one application. That's Discord. So very similar to like Slack too. There are channels, and you can bring people together. You can make different groups for them. And what's really nice is you can then, once you have a group set up, you can just set up a call essentially, and then people can hop in and out of that channel as they want to without disrupting everybody else to be able to join in on the conversation. Why I like this application in particular more than like Zoom is it's much more secure. People have to be invited to different channels and things like that. And so it's easier to make sure that the people that you're communicating with are the people who you want to be talking to and not have other people in there. Discord was originally created for people to do games and to talk while they're playing like computer games and stuff like that. But since then, it's been bringing people together, around the world. So even on their website, discordapp.com, they talk about how dance schools are putting it together, or book clubs are using their application, friends and families, study groups, things like that. And so basically, you just, there are like helpful templates they can make to make little communities. And you can also have it be a public thing too if you want there to be like open conversations about it. But you can definitely use it just for one on one or a few people in a family to get together and stay connected. And then what's nice too is again, if you have some people can be using their phone, some people can be using a computer, and you guys are all able to have the same kind of conversation. So check it out. Discord, it's free.
Free.
And yeah, it works really well.
Cool. So you've been using it on a regular basis?
I have. I've actually been using it when we play Super Smash Brothers with some coworkers.
Okay.
So we're able to talk then because Nintendo doesn't have a way to do voice chat
Okay.
unless you use their other app. But this was easier because we already had it set up. So
you've been using it for gaming. Have you used it for anything else? Like any?
I haven't, but the scenario would be the same, right? Like if I
Mhm.
wanted to have a conversation with family who lives in Arizona and some that live in Little Rock or something, I could put everybody in the same channel and we could all have basically a big 5 or 6 way call. So
Cool. Is there a limit on the amount of calls or video calls?
I haven't encountered that.
I would
I'm
imagine
sure there
there's
probably is, but
some kind of limit, but you
it's
could.
quite a bit. We've had phone calls with more than 8 people on it. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Cool. Well, that's actually a good choice. I might have to check that out as well. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, to our listeners, be safe and be healthy, everyone. Well, that's it for this episode of The Apple Watchers. Read all the stories we've covered and more stories on Flipboard, a link provided in the show notes. Follow us on Facebook at The Apple Watchers Podcast, on Instagram at The Apple Watchers, and on Twitter at Watchers Tweet. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can even ask your smart speaker to play the Apple Watchers podcast. Please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen, and thank you again for listening. Until the next episode, I hope the only complications in your life are the ones on the face of your Apple Watch.